All right, I'd like to call the Cable and Broadband Internet Commission to order.
Second.
All right, so call to order. Rob
Yep,
Capone.
identify yourself, yep.
Yep, Rob Capone,
Jeff Abrams.
very loud. And this,
Special guests.
yeah, it's best.
Stephanie Seaborn, all the different. And Suzanne Woodland, for the moment, Deputy City Manager and Regulatory Counsel. Good.
So I guess first and foremost, everybody had a chance to review the minutes from April, the meeting, all right? Any problems, everybody's good with it? We're good set?
Move to accept.
All right, I'll second. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Nice.
All right, keep moving along. All right, next, the review the cellular service survey results.
Would you like to walk through them, Stephanie?
Would you like to put them up on the screen, or because it's just us, or for Zoom purposes?
Oh.
We can share.
Especially,
Yeah,
yeah,
sure.
sure. I mean, I have,
Yep,
I have
that'd be
a copy, but I don't know if you guys.
Yep.
do.
Yeah, I didn't make copy.
It's a good suggestion, thank you. You guys have chance to fill it out?
Yeah.
Yep.
No, what's it all?
They modified.
These guys backfired because they weren't talking about Comcast as much as they were talking about Verizon and T-Mobile.
So
Did you feel that in comments?
We didn't study that as well.
that's,
Yeah.
that's really one.
What's the
Okay,
comments?
let me share that.
13% of people said that they use Comcast.
But
Share.
it's right down low, right next to host.
Oh, yes, thank you, sorry.
Of course,
Normally with Teams, so then you go back and forth to.
yeah.
There we go. Right. Okay. Cool. Good. Alright, I'm great, Sharon, thank you. Alright,
So 4-1.
okay, go ahead, take it away, Stephanie, if you'd like to just walk through.
I think it might be most helpful if you use of your time, since you have a chance to look at these. We can walk through each one, and I can make notes about things we'd like to change. And I guess I'll back up by saying the conversation when we created this survey was, let's do a first pass. Let's see what kind of results we get. And then maybe probably share it with business community.
Yeah.
And I have learned, confirmed, that Sean Clancy, our development guy, does have access to a list of 3,000 Portsmouth businesses. There isn't, I don't have the sense that there's a lot of flexibility as to how we can use that list. But if we modified this survey and created a QR code for the business survey, we can pretty easily send that to the list. So I guess my suggestion is that's our goal. And look at the questions and whether you feel these questions got the results that you were looking for.
So it's a good idea.
Okay.
All right.
So
Question like,
Say.
I think, you know, we discovered that yes, people have problems, confirmed, it's going to be expected. The problems that we listed seem to be a pretty good list. There were only a few other that, a lot of the other were specific to location. And I think we get into that with location. So I think probably that list, and I'm open to additions you might like to make, does that look pretty good? Then how would you rate cell service? Another way of asking, do you have problems or don't you? I think the range of Port Excellent gave a sense of, no one's, very few think we have excellent cell service. So it'd be interesting to see what the business folks say, because I will some kind of sidestep to the location question. And I think my sense is that, A, that question was really useful. It's probably the most useful information. And downtown isn't particularly a problem. It's for all of the people who use their cell phones for business at home. And find it very difficult to work from home because of service digital. There
That's
are,
interesting.
But it wasn't all Comcast though.
Oh, no, it's a whole, and we asked about all
It
carriers.
was a host of them.
Right, yeah.
Universal.
so, so it'll be interesting to compare basically those same questions with the business group to see if we're getting the same thing. My sense is downtown businesses are probably okay, although I'm thinking one of the locations was problem was Pete's. So if we can, thinking ahead of sending out the survey, if we can sort the answers by location.
That's what I was wondering, is like, again, if somehow like, and trying to figure out, okay, these people that are having poor.
So the business, Sean Clancy has the following groups of areas. So Lafayette, he has a separate one for Peace.
Right.
The Route 1 corridor, the downtown overlay, Woodbury Avenue, South End, West End, and North End. So those are the categories that he can already sort by. So when he pushes this out and we get the results back, we should,
Could we correlate, like, so
Be able to
basically
do that.
have each of the individual, like, we have separate QR codes for each group?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
okay,
I like that idea, so that
Right.
way, yeah, we
You
can
can
correlate
bring it.
without asking.
Yep.
Because then I think it's,
less.
And then you
have to
see
provide
the
back.
results, you don't have to do a lot of massaging to get.
Right.
get the answers.
Yeah.
So that we will do. And then
Do I need to keep going?
I guess the information about provider is information. I'm not just particularly actionable, but at least it's telling you the overall.
like,
Um,
I can't help but think sometimes that, like, okay, the squeaky, or the people that are having the problems are more inclined to
Right,
actually
get to the
take,
survey.
answer the survey,
Guys like.
which, yeah, I mean, to be honest, yeah, I don't normally, I have AT&T and I don't normally have a problem, but I'm also technically savvy, so I, whenever possible, where I work, use it most, have Wi-Fi set up so that you can Wi-Fi cell calls. But that's not the case.
A lot of people don't do that, that's awesome.
So question 7 is the one that I'm wondering if it tells us anything. And it says people use their cell phones at work, at home, project reports, I think you knew that. Does this particular question and the percentages tell us anything enough to keep it? Or are we getting the real information we want from the location question?
It's a good one. And this is a checkbox, not a radio button question, so that you can answer, obviously, because it said that there's 256 answers. We've got 256, but,
Yeah.
The question is, same sort of deal. Heavily weighted towards home.
but again, because this was sent to home users, like, I think. Because I guess what I've generally heard is, and again, this is all circumstantial, but I hear that a lot of people that work in Portsmouth live in Portsmouth, and a lot of people that live in Portsmouth don't work in Portsmouth. So,
Trying to tease out differences with this survey wasn't working. I think what gave us the most information was if you have a problem with a specific location, tell us what.
Yeah, a lot of people,
That
that's nothing, but a lot of people said where they live, locations.
A lot of addresses.
Yeah, a lot of addresses.
And we do have a list of all 256 emails that are specific to the survey. So if we want to do some follow up with them, you can do that. So
Just wanted to populate a map with those addresses.
So that's the next thing I was thinking, that I sorted the list rather than give you the spreadsheet to make. I took the locations and then alphabetized them, which is where Atlantic Heights popped out.
Yeah.
I noticed reading anecdotally the intersection of I-95 and 33.
Oh my God,
Yeah, that's fun.
I mean, that drug calls in there for 3 years.
So I think that was really useful information. So I think doing a Google map of those locations will show us, because you can zoom in enough that it isn't just a mass of spots. You can really see pockets across the city, where are dead zones and where are.
And also see, find out whether international airports jam all their stuff they're doing, like.
But, well, and I'm also just wondering, is there some way, probably for these, is there some way for us to correlate? We do ask who their provider is, but just because, like, I know there were some people, anecdotal answers talking about how, they had problems with Verizon, like at least one, I don't know.
Yeah, well, and I
Had
went
problems
to
with
T-Mobile,
Verizon,
and
and
that's
then they
fine
switched to
now.
T-Mobile or switched to AT&T because they use different frequencies, they use different equipment, so it may just be that the density of towers is not high, or the coverage of density is sort of peripheral location.
Yeah.
So we can target, at that point, provide that information to those carriers. Because again,
Right.
we really don't have a lot of way to coerce these, but I can't help but think that it's a way for us to have a collective group of people that potentially go to the provider and say, hey, these people are having these problems.
Bring attention to them.
Exactly, but rather than ones and twos, because like, if they're getting this information through like individual call centers, they may not be able to necessarily, or may not be interested
Right.
in
It's
correlating.
not enough volume.
So I can take, because all of the data is on the spreadsheet. And I can do the same thing that I did for sorting locations alphabetically. Just take the column that is service provider and location that are matched up with,
Yep.
which are sort by service provider. And then you'll see the patterns. If all of the Atlantic Heights people have Verizon or
Right.
Xfinity or whatever,
Complaining.
it'll pop out. Or there won't be any pattern.
Right.
That would be useful too.
Exactly.
Great correlation. They're like,
Nice to be able to do that. Yes, thank you. I'm sure we were thinking the same thing.
Well, how do we make this usable?
Right.
Unbelievable, so matters.
So the locations, which is question 8 and 9. List in what was part of the packet is only a partial list, which is why I took the whole spreadsheet and gave you a separate document.
Should I scroll down? I'd like it at this, or probably too mixed. I'll leave it.
Yeah, I mean, because you have that separate document, I did print it out if you want to.
I'm gonna stop the share, if that's okay. Unless you wanna go back.
Well, I'm wondering if,
No, me.
so the other question, well,
It's okay, think
yeah,
about it.
it's because I don't know that the list of the locations. It's important to have, but I don't know that you want to scroll through it, but we
Yeah.
can want to.
Let's talk to it rather than scroll, and, the commissioners all have the hard copy.
And I think this correlation of service provider issue and problem locations is going to be a good sort, as well as the map. Like Earthly students.
So we're trying to demonstrate for what carrier if signals are lacking in what areas, not just Comcast, all.
Right,
The two
so-
variables, it's gonna pull out.
Again, technically, it isn't so much that what they're lacking, it's what people are noticing that they're,
Right,
It's just, is
And
there
they're
a correlation
vocal
to
about it.
locations?
right.
And care.
Goes back to the question of if you're able to carry a survey. Apple
Or if they're just, yeah, or maybe we're just not, the survey's not getting. But anyway,
which is.
Which is why
Only
only take the business approach,
Right.
so they get more data.
250 responses out of 6,000 is statistically significant, but it's not, we can, you know.
like to see, yeah, would have liked to see a larger sample size, but
It'll be interesting to see the response we get on the business side.
They're making
And
more
to-
invested in changing.
To your point, it's the people who have an axe to grind are the ones who answer the survey.
Yeah.
So at
That's
least that
good,
is
because we were trying to identify the
Exactly.
There are some places where we're asking for an opinion on a more generic, you know, do you like A or B? But this is, we wanna know what opinions are. So it's okay that the people who have problems are telling us we have problems. So that we can feed that back to the carriers, so. You know, given what we're,
mhm,
you know,
Well,
learning.
looks like a summer cold.
no,
But question 10 gets to exactly the point of, are the people who are having difficulties the ones who fill out the survey? And we had 16% of the people who did the survey are in Atlantic Heights, so that answers that question. But gives us a profile of our other neighborhoods as well. There was one that someone said hadn't included, and I remember our conversation. I will double check that, so we have that information. So when it comes to the business service, is it still useful to ask the business group, if you're a Portsmouth resident, what neighborhood do you live in?
I don't think so, I think, I,
Right, we wanna know where their location is at.
right,
and whether they're customers, when they're there in the salon or, you know, trying to pay.
Yeah.
Of course, some of them may have Wi-Fi, that's.
So since we're gonna
Right.
sort the survey by those 11 geographic.
Yeah.
Catchments. We'll get that information just because the answers to those questions will be specific to those different areas, Lafayette or downtown.
I mean, I think
A lot of new buildings here.
I think the question is valid through this survey. Because I think, again, we saw that as far as the, you know, when we asked the question, do you have problems, you know, where do you have problems? A lot of people said from home. Whereas I think, again, once we start targeting the survey toward businesses, we're gonna definitely see, so I think you're right, that maybe dropping the question for the businesses is the right way to go.
Or maybe it's only if you're a resident. Would we want, well, we're not for this kind of.
Right,
And I think that might get confusing
Yeah.
once, when we're trying to compare apples to apples with those 11 different areas. Is the information interesting? Yeah, is it useful? I'm not sure. So.
If they've got a metal frame, nobody can stop at that question. Because they're just not gonna get. So.
Are you aware that you have lousy service because you have a metal
Because you have a
frame?
new build frame. Might be, I don't know, for sure, I'm not an
but
architect.
it also depends on, okay, with businesses, you can put repeaters inside your building, like
Yeah.
when I was in New York City. You get great coverage when you're down in the subway. And that's just because they just
Okay.
made a point of, because the density is so high.
Yep.
But with that, I mean,
But that is good information we could feed back, because that means Verizon and AT&T and T-Mobile could reach out to businesses, or we tell businesses to reach out to their, you know, to the carriers.
So we
To
just
say,
ask,
but I have a repeater because my customers and my
Or
staff.
whatever
solution.
They may be in
Yeah.
business already. Business is very sharper than I am, they're probably saying, we're not getting service,
Again.
and they're on the phones, getting the equipment up.
well, some of the residents were saying that they got a booster and it didn't like good. So is the question we want to ask the business respondents, do you have a repeater in the building?
Right, or do you maybe more open ended, like if you have some sort of way to augment, boost it, any way to
Have you
boost it.
taken action already?
So when
Improve your
we-
service.
So when we communicate with the businesses, do we want just the answer from the business, or do we want them to post the QR code so that their employees and
Customers.
customers, because there's two pieces, there's maybe a survey to be filled out by a representative of the business owner.
Right.
And
So
maybe,
that's-
and then there's the QR code that they can post to get information from customers or
Customers.
employees,
In
'cause,
terms of, yeah, we
you know,
are
they may have,
less static.
Yeah.
Goes down.
I don't know, I'm raising it, I don't have the answer.
Instead of home versus business versus government or it's what, that question might become, are you a business or a customer
Right.
of, you know,
Yeah.
where did you see the survey?
Or employee,
You know,
right.
if it even matters where did you see the survey, it's, are you a business?
I like
employee,
that may be the way to screen it, are you the owner? Are
Or
you
employee.
the employee or the customer or other visitor?
Yeah.
Just simple three, you must fall into one of those categories,
That you're seeing.
customer or
That's
other
fair.
visitor.
So
Customer
Go
slash,
ahead.
customer slash video.
I think it's stupid, but what's the end game here? What are we trying to do? Is let all three of these, that they need to put repeaters up? And amplifiers or whatever for this thing? Well, what's the end game here? What are we trying to
So-
So
demonstrate?
everybody got the problem.
It seems like the first question is, if there's a problem, and I think we expect that they'll say there is, what is the problem? Where is the problem? I think is just like residents.
So the onus goes on us, not them.
I think
To report the information to those who can do anything.
Right.
Or not.
And I think it depends on what we learn. So one option, which we already talked about, is once we have a little bit of the data, share that with the respective carriers because they do make adjustments to their infrastructure. They do make decisions on where they deploy more infrastructure. And that's the big infrastructure. But then they might also suggest, hey, you know, could you push out a message then to local businesses that if they're having these issues, here's how they can go and maybe get a repeater if they don't have one. This is the number to contact, here's where you should tell them. So I think it's multifold depending on what we hear.
Okay.
That's my
That's
impression.
reasonable.
As well as I guess I maybe look further that like. There was a tower that they were looking to put, somebody, I don't know which
In
area,
Rye,
in
yeah.
Rye, and it was shot down because the residents were concerned about. What I believe to be questionable, cause effect relations, meaning that 5G causes cancer. I think that I am firmly believe, but
Well,
here's the
okay,
thing is,
yeah.
after doing that, but here's the big thing is, like, after something like that happens, I'm sure that these carriers may be like, look. We're not gonna go through the regulatory, hoops to get this all approved, to have it shot down by people, maybe we're just gonna let it go. But if we can come to them and say, look, actually, that was a vocal minority, you have a vocal majority or a vocal group here that is actually complaining about signal weakness. May give them a little more confidence to say, all right, maybe at this point, because we're hearing from the city, we have somebody in our, not necessarily in our corner, but maybe cheerleaders who can then, as we
Right.
roll out additional coverage.
Right.
You know,
Plus, there was a question to the carriers if they wanna answer it in the letter, which is, are there any regulatory impediments at our local level that we could look at?
Yeah.
Which is, it's good to have feedback, is there something that's hindering the deployment of certain infrastructure? Again, because now there are different pieces of technology and not just the big cell towers, there's, those other pieces, and the question is there an issue with that?
And I think, looking at it from the carrier's perspective, if I knew there was a problem in an area that is now not showing up as a hotspot, I would be saying, hey, look at that. We used to get all kinds of complaints from Maplewood Avenue. Fewer people are complaining now, but look at Atlantic Heights, we gotta do something.
Yeah.
But I think it's positive feedback for areas that have settled down a little, which I think would be really useful.
Well, candidly, I think they know.
I'm
I
sure
think-
they do.
I think
but
they
it's
know.
reinforcements.
And they,
It's not getting complaints.
right, they don't have a ball in their back, and they need this ball in their back.
But I think electromagnetic radiation affects their health.
So rye is very sensitive
Well,
to
I think.
any
This
environmental.
one goes for that in the nineties, there were reports of regional hospitals, government, high voltage power lines anywhere. But your electric stove, its proximity, because it's the first to the fourth power. Wall. 4 times 4 times 4 times 4 with 107 at 4 feet. So
And if you spend your life like this,
That-
that's gonna be.
that is the high intensity.
It's-
if you got it right next to your brain, that's probably bad for you. And so stop using your phone 24 hours. But the wires that we intense do not prove that back in the last century.
Well, I've got the power lines coming up from the nuclear plant in my backyard.
Yeah.
I've got cancer yet, so it's a good sign.
You haven't got cancer and you can go out with a fluorescent bulb and light it up.
I don't know about that.
I did it.
I feel
My
like,
yard down in Johnson, I went out, all lit up, just hanging underneath the power line. But
Hey,
that does
listen.
not affect your health.
I was born in Los Alamos, New Mexico.
Oh my
because my dad was born in Los Alamos. And I don't blow in.
No,
So,
There's a
which
lot of
isn't to diminish
humans
that.
love myth, let's leave it at that.
So I guess the last question, whether we want it in business or not, do you have a landline phone? What is interesting is that the percentage is most don't, but there were comments that said, I have to have a landline because my cell phone drops out.
Right.
So it's not quantity, it's qualitative. And again, matching those comments to their location, I think is a good point.
Absolutely.
So then the other comments for the commission, there was pretty much overlap, I felt, on the complaint, the comments were about location and their problems most. I'm not sure that there was much else. There were some specific to the carrier. Positive feedback for T-Mobile, Verizon, just cell service for Verizon, it's practically non-existent, that has switched to AT&T. So I think that question might be better sorted by carrier. See if that groups the comments, so that we actually had information we could share with carriers. And that's basically it. Yes. I also, because of the spreadsheet that goes on and on and on, because most answers are 3 columns, but every now and then there's an answer that's 20 columns, you get all of that paper from all of those other line words that are hard to provide.
I know we went through this, but it's amazing how they gave us their addresses. You know,
But again, that is definitely helpful to be able to then correlate their
Right.
answers to a location,
Right.
especially for home.
Yeah,
So,
So I will do those correlations we talked about. I'll create the Google map of locations for problems and other things. So on.
that would be the ones,
Excellent. Thank you so much.
I think this
Becoming
gave us,
clearer.
yes, I think this gave us. Exactly clearer information. I think we weren't surprised by anything we saw here. I wasn't. But it really gave us specific identification of where there are problems, what's the problem, what is the specific location.
Right.
And cell service is by definition a locational issue.
right. Yes.
And probably always will be.
Well,
What kind of car are you driving? Why are you using a like that?
I have to say, I have T-Mobile.
I have Verizon, I don't have Verizon anywhere, in Arizona or Florida, anywhere I go. Bam. But People have different needs and
Well,
applications.
and again, there may be specific problems that are caused by specific environments. Yeah, so, but I think we start with the correlated geographic data, see if we can figure out what those are.
Right.
We'll see what happens.
And I think people are voting with their feet. If they don't like the service, they're adding and switching.
Right.
We clearly saw that. But at the same time, it's good to see where are the problems, what are the issues.
Speak.
Welcome, Louis.
Thank you. All right. Yeah, sorry. It's been a little bit of a crazy day here. Last minute. Child running around camps pickup. Anyways, so yeah, I guess break me down on where you guys are in the results. I obviously had scanned them myself, so I don't know if there's any points that you guys are
Well,
So I
if you
think
could just summarize maybe,
takeaway,
Stephanie, what the next steps are.
The next step is to provide a Google map of the locations of problem areas. Because I did a simple word sort on an Excel sheet of locations that showed Atlantic Heights was an issue. But I think it would be useful to have a map.
Yeah.
The next thing is to do a correlation between carrier and problem areas. So that
Okay.
we can see if the carrier for Atlantic Heights is somebody specific. So we'll do that. And then I'll also sort the comments about what's, what are the common area was kind of what other problems do you want to it specifically showed more answers that mentioned a carrier than any of the other questions. So I'll do a sort that way. So that's kind of what I want to provide you all as follow-up to this resident survey. And then we'll create a business version of the survey. And we're able through our deputy city manager, is that what it's saying? Economic development.
Economic development, assistant city manager for economic development, but yeah.
Sean Clancy has a list of 3,000 Portsmouth businesses, and he is able to sort them by location, which means that we can create an individual mini survey with a specific QR code for following business locations: Lafayette Road, Keys, Route 1, Downtown, Woodbury Ave, South End, West End, North End. So I'll do a business version of the survey. Basically the same questionnaire, but we'll just be able to track the results with QR codes specific to location. And we thought we would ask a question about, are you business owner, employee, or customer? And if the business people want to share the QR code with customers, we don't have any reason to.
Right. But then we would substitute that question for whether you lived or your problem was at home, at business, or driving, because it's less, it's not very valuable for the business surveys.
We also said we would add into the business survey, have you taken any steps to improve service such as a repeater?
Okay.
But you will all see that mini survey.
Cool.
Let's see it.
Right.
Other business?
So, yeah. So two pieces.
So I guess, we're all set, so.
So,
Okay.
we're
Well,
fine.
Yes.
Then why don't you stay here, so if we talk about the schedule for the next meeting.
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah, sure. Or if you wanna jump around, like if you want, we have other business.
I'll just, we can talk briefly about
Okay.
PPMTV, but we could set the next meeting date while Stephanie's here.
Right, that's what I was thinking, we can set next meeting date, that way you can be free to go, and it's already a little after 5.
It's cool in here.
It's,
It was not cool at the other end of the hall.
Oh,
which is fine.
geez.
That's why we're here. So, Louis, since you missed the kind of informal conversation at the beginning, I am away in July, so we'd be looking at an August meeting. Unless you guys wanna meet without me, which you are welcome to do,
Well, I
No,
think
but that would give Stephanie time to
exactly,
do all
that's
of
what I'm
these
also thinking,
pieces.
because it's,
Is there an urgency with requires?
is that okay with you? August, you're good to go to August?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I'm looking to see what I would might have available for August. Um,
I'm open-ended, so you guys, I'll flex around you guys.
Louis, you might have a fairly challenged schedule given life, so.
I'm looking at a brick wall. It's hilarious. Yeah, let me it's literally just stacks and stacks of things. I need to figure out what is doable. Let's see, August 6th, I cannot, I think.
There's no rush, so
Yeah,
we need to coordinate with others, I can have,
yeah. Well, so another issue is, I mean, so what I would say is I would have you guys just schedule it. Most likely, I'm probably going to be zoomed for it because I'm going to be gone the last essentially 2 weeks of August from the 17th through the 28th.
that.
So,
Beginning of-
so,
Right here.
Yeah,
and then September, I'm going to be, yeah, then we're going into September. Like, I mean, I'm free September 3rd. I don't know if that's too far from too far gone. So that's why I wouldn't schedule based on mine because it would push it out pretty far. I'm going to be in Cape Cod, but again, as long as we have quorum, I can easily jump on and I usually will skim the email. Like I said, this time the results were very much in line, so that's why I didn't have much to add. I fully on board with all the decisions you guys have made with kind of getting additional information and getting the information a little bit more organized. But either way, so that's why I would say maybe just you guys schedule for a time in August and I can again do my best to make it happen. Wednesdays are good. Thursdays are good for me if it doesn't, if Wednesday doesn't work for you guys or whatever. So again, otherwise, yeah, if everybody feels like pushing it all the way out to September, I hate, I'd hate to kill any momentum or you know what I mean? So that's why I maybe don't schedule around mine.
So I am tied up September 3rd through 5th with a delegation from Michigan, our sister city of
Yeah.
Japan, because this is the 120th anniversary of the treaty. And they are arriving on the mayor and 6 other people are arriving on the 3rd and leaving on the 6th. So
Okay.
I am going to be
So
entertaining.
Yeah.
should we shoot then for, Louis had said who's gonna be out, could we go mid-August?
Yeah.
And just,
like
let's
the
put something on, in pencil.
6th or 13th. Or could be Thursday if you guys
Me.
prefer Thursday.
If you, I'm happy to stick with Wednesdays, Jeff.
I don't care Wednesday, Thursday, whatever, but I'm flexible.
6, yeah, let's
Yeah,
shoot.
I'd say do this. The 6th might be my best bet too, to be able to attend without any interruption. My dog has a vet appointment at 4 p.m. on the 13th, so that's another point too. But so yeah, so that would be good for me as well, is to be able to attend via Zoom,
Okay.
hopefully.
5 o'clock start time like we've been doing. Okay,
Sure.
great,
Excellent.
good. So the only other, the other news, is, PPM TV is, winding down, has shrunken their footprint, so to speak, and are now just operating as just an all volunteer organization. They are storing some of their equipment right now at the high school, and there is a conversation ongoing with the high school about maybe reinvigorating and restarting the program with the high school. So That's just to keep you all updated on that, and we're just exploring some issues, you know, related to that, and,
So they vacated them all.
yes.
Did we discuss last time, Sam, that we talked about their budget, that the budget that, you know, we've been basically talking about, is just gonna go back into the grant budget or whatever? Is that just the plan for that?
The final payment, the Q4 payment of the,
You
For the
would pay it
fiscal
in
year.
advance?
yes, so we had paid, remember back in the
Right.
fall, the
Yes.
48, so we did not fully get our 360.
Yeah.
Because it was a little short,
Yeah.
so there's no money going into the trust right now. But, you know, if you look at the whole next fiscal year, there might be, you know, 20,000 or 25,000.
Okay.
That would be over the 360, so I think the total came to 408. Did I circulate the final numbers for this year?
I know, I remember seeing it.
Okay, I thought I had sent them, yeah, so the final number was like 408. For what we got for the fiscal year, but the city council had previously given them
Prepaid.
the 48,000
Right,
cause that's the number they needed to kind of work their way through,
Yep.
you know, the process, so. And they're keeping right now the location at Jumping Jays, cause that's where the drop is,
okay,
you know, their
yeah, above, yeah.
office space.
Okay.
So, just wanted to make you aware.
Right. Any other business? No public, so no public comment. Right. Schedule, at this point, we've already scheduled a meeting, so,
Move to adjourn.
all right,
All right. I'll second it and I'll eye it.
Sounds
All right.
good.
Thank you again.
Excellent.
Super
Thanks
fast.
again, guys. Hopefully next time I won't be as crazy, but who knows?
Okay, no promises.
All right, take care.
See you later.